Hi everyone. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to give you a quick overview of two-factor authentication in your own personal lives. So you've probably seen us at the HPP group talking a lot about two-factor authentication, how important it is, we think, for businesses, but it's also important for yourselves as well. It's really important to protect your own data. So what I wanted to do is I want to cover three social media platforms, three of the biggest social media platforms in the UK. Which will give you an idea of how to control access to your account, which you can pretty much then apply to everything. And then I'll talk a little bit as well about Duo, an authentication app which can be used to manage all of these accounts for you, but also in your businesses across virtually everything you've got. So firstly, just a little explanation about what two-factor authentication is and why it's needed. So the reason it's needed is because nowadays one of the biggest type of attacks we see is something called credential harvesting. So credential harvesting is where somebody basically tries to trick you into giving away your username and your password. The way this is usually done is by sending you to a fake login page for something where you enter your email address or your username along with your password, thinking that it's a genuine website. And the one we see that a lot on is around Microsoft 365. So you may have had one of these, an email from one of your genuine contacts that says I've shared a file with you or something like that, that's inviting you to click on a link, which would then ask you to log in to access that file. Similar things happen around LinkedIn, around Facebook, around Twitter as well, with fake pages, fake profiles, trying to send people to these pages where they're effectively going to give away their username and passwords. Now, obviously, as you can imagine, in the traditional sort of way that people log in, if you've got someone's username and password, you can access their account. With two-factor authentication, we're adding on another form of authentication, and actually it's generally referred to nowadays as multi-factor authentication. As for example, I will use my phone as my extra form of authentication, but in order to get into my phone, there's a level of login there as well. So we've got multiple factors protecting it. So what we want to do is we want to achieve that same level of protection on your personal accounts as well. So first, let's start off with LinkedIn. So in order to access the correct settings in LinkedIn, what you need to do is you need to click on the Me icon in the top right of the screen and choose Settings and Privacy, which is just under Account, kind of one of the first options at the top. From there on the left-hand menu, there's an option for sign in and security. And at the bottom of that screen, you'll see something called two-step verification, as LinkedIn called it. Now, this will be the same for pretty much all the ones I go through. So just to explain this in detail here, there'll be an option on LinkedIn for either an authenticator app or a phone number to send you a text message or an SMS, as it calls it there. Now, in an ideal world, you should really be using an authenticator app for this. It's much more secure in that respect, and it means it keeps everything in one place and you know what you've protected then. So you can get these from Google, have got an authenticator app on the stores, on Android and on Apple. Same with Microsoft as well. And I will come to Duo at the end as well. But if you are using Duo like we do at the HPP group, then this can not only manage all your business applications, but users can use it for their own applications as well. So in all the applications, there's a little plus in the top right, and you basically click on that on your phone. And once you've clicked on that, there's a QR code that comes up on the screen once you've selected the Authenticator app, and you scan that on the screen, and that will then give you a code on your phone. You enter that code into LinkedIn, and LinkedIn binds the two together, and you're done. Now, if you try to log in from a new device, for example, or you log out and remove your details from your browser or anything like that, when you log in, you will be asked to provide the code from your Authenticator app. So all you're going to do then is you're going to go back into your Authenticator app, you're going to find the LinkedIn code that you set up, and it will automatically generate a new code. So every 30 seconds or so. So you enter that code for that 30-second block, and that will give you access to LinkedIn. So nice and simple. It's not going to take up a huge amount of time in your day or anything like that, but it means that if you do ever lose your password or your username, then you've got a form of authentication that's going to stop anyone else being able to access that account. It's a very similar thing then when we get to Facebook. So in Facebook, there's a drop-down arrow in the top right. By the way, all of these are on desktop that I'm recommending we do this rather than on mobile. You can do some of these on mobile as well, but I recommend you do them on desktop, certainly if you're using your mobile phone as the authenticator. So drop down in the top right, and you're looking for settings and privacy, and then settings. On the left-hand menu within that screen, we have one called Security and Login. If you look down the page, kind of the fourth section in on the main screen, then you'll see something called two-factor authentication and an option in there called Use two-factor authentication, which you can click Edit on the right-hand side. Now you'll be asked to enter your password again, but then you'll get access to that two-factor setup, and you follow a very similar process as I've gone through with LinkedIn. When we look at Twitter, once we're logged into our Twitter page on the desktop, we're looking at the More option on the left-hand screen, kind of towards the bottom of that left-hand menu, and then Settings and Privacy. That opens an inner page menu, and you're going to select Security and Account Access, and then Security. The first option will then be two-factor authentication, which you can follow the same steps as Facebook and LinkedIn to set that up. And to be honest, it's virtually the same process with any account. So Google, for example, you just find your account, look for the security or login sections, and then you find the two-factor or two-step setup process, depending on what they call it, generally called two-factor authentication or two-step verification. And that's as simple as it is. And that is going to make sure that your personal accounts are secure if you were to lose your passwords. Now, there are websites out there where you can check if you've ever been hacked, for example, but this makes that irrelevant. So even if someone does have your username and password, they aren't going to be able to access your accounts unless they also have access to your phone, because they will need to log into your phone, they will need to get onto the application itself, and they will need to enter that code. Without that, they cannot log in. So really, really important to set these up for your personal accounts. But as we've been talking about a lot, it's also really important to do this in business. So we recommend, and we use ourselves, a product called Duo. So Duo is a solution that can then protect virtually anything, any piece of software. There's a few exceptions to the rule about around older pieces of software, but if you're using any kind of modern software, any cloud-based software, typically Duo is going to protect it if the software allows. It also can protect my devices. So my laptop, for example, when I log in the morning, that is protected by my Duo two-factor authentication process, which means, again, if I were to lose my laptop, it would be useless to someone because they wouldn't be able to log in, even if they could find my username and password, because they'd still need my level of approval. It also protects my email, which is, like I say, where the biggest level of attacks are coming from within business, and any application I use at work as well. And we can roll that out across multiple users so that everyone in your organization is protected. Obviously, it does have a cost, but because it enables us to roll it out so quickly and monitor it as well to make sure that everyone is using it, then it's really useful for keeping businesses protected and stopping them falling foul of these credential harvesting attacks. So if you want more information, you can find it on our websites. There'll be links in these videos, whether it's on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, wherever we post this, there'll be a link associated with it that shows you more about Duo. And obviously, if you need any more help and on any more assistance, then please let us know. Thanks.